I have 2 kids with CF. One is 10, her name is Caitlin, and then I have a soon-to-be 4-year-old, Zachary, who tells me all the time, I'm growing up. They're pretty entertaining, so Wendy knows firsthand how when we go into clinic, it's pretty much craziness ensues when we walk in. But just to tell you a little bit about our story, we did not know that we were carriers. No family history, any of that. Then I was pregnant, delivered, 36 hours old Caitlin was 36 hours old and was distended. So she had emergency surgery, meconium ileus, which is the hardening of the stool. So her surgeon was actually from U of M, and he said, I'm 95% sure that it's cystic fibrosis. So found out later that his brother was 10 years old when he had passed away from cystic fibrosis. So it was something that was near and dear to him. She spent 8 weeks in NICU, and it was just kind of one of those things you do what you have to do. And I think one of the things that kind of stood out to me was people were like, how do you do that? How do I do what? I'm just kind of like, you wouldn't do that. You would just leave. That was just surprising to me. But then I think about those people who I had met, and it's like they have never had any kind of experience with anything going on in their lives, or felt I guess I would say quote unquote normal. We don't really use normal now. So she came home with the ostomy bag for 10 days. And when we were in the surgeon's office for follow-up, we had changed the bag 7 times in a matter of like 30 minutes, and he's just like, this is ridiculous. We're going to take care of this right away. So we were able to get that taken care of. She was staying in the hospital over the weekend, came home. We were good. Sent down to Children's to do clinic there. Fantastic, loved everybody that we had met, and really feel like that was the best place for us. Then she went to school, and they're 6 years apart, so we weren't even thinking about another child at the time. And she had started preschool, everything was fine. She knew she had to take enzymes, all this stuff that wasn't our normal. And I think people were more freaked out about it than what we were. I mean, even though we lived with it day to day, just people were like, you mean I have to do what? I'm like, you don't have to do anything. She does everything herself, And when she was in preschool and she was like, I want to take my vest. I'm like, okay, you can take your vest. So she did a little presentation about her vest, and I was there to help her, and she just was like, these are my pills that I take before I eat. And the kids were all really receptive to it, which was great for her. And I thought, like Laura said, like our fears that we have as parents, trying not to project those, on our kids. And I was just like, oh my goodness, how is this gonna work? And she's just like, no, I got this. I'm like, you're only like 4 years old. How do you have this, But I think at that point it was just like, she's got it. I don't have to worry about it, Then we fast forward to kindergarten. We had a great teacher, a great principal, awesome school. Kindergarten and first grade was together in one school, and her teacher, thankfully for us, looped. So that was like the most exciting thing for her teacher and for us and for the principal. Enzymes were not an issue in the classroom. First grade, she was admitted for an infection, and we came home with intermates. So she's got her PICC line, and we went to the nurse's office and do all that official stuff, and then she goes back to class for her treatment. So she's sitting there, and she's just, being a first grader, knocks it off her desk, picks it up by the line, and starts whipping it around. I'm like, what are you doing? And her teacher was like, freaking out. The kids were just like, oh, that's really cool. How we... So they all thought that they should have PICC lines so they could, whip this thing around. And she would go out on the playground, just shove it in her pocket. It would fall out when she went upside down on the monkey bars. It was just like, this was cool to her. And nobody, made a big deal about it. And it was just like, okay, well, yeah, I can do this. Then, after that, she has been fairly healthy for her 10 and a half years and her craziness that she does. But again, we keep her pretty involved in whatever she wants to do. We don't say no, you can't. You know, it's like, you want to try swimming? Okay, let's try swimming. You want to do whatever? I was thinking last night, she's been her 6th year this year in cheerleading. And I remember her surgeon saying when she was in NICU, this little girl's going to be a cheerleader because she was just so loud. I mean, they put her in isolation just because she was so noisy. They didn't want her to wake up, you know, the rest of the NICU. And so I always kind of think of that. And she has done soccer. She's done, like I said, swimming, anything in gym. She's all about that. She loves to sing. She loves to dance. But I think knowing that we don't separate that from her. We don't say, oh, well, because of your illness, you can't do that. No, it's like, okay, well, do it, and we'll see what happens. Now she's getting to more of I want to kind of keep this to myself, and if anybody needs to know, then I'll tell them, which I'm okay with, but I'm like, we still have to tell your coaches. We still have to tell, you know, certain people. And she's just like, whatever you got to do, you know. She is homeschooled right now. We pulled her in 2nd grade, and not because of the CF. It was district issues and our choice. When she moved from the kindergarten 1st grade school to the 2nd grade school, it was a huge adjustment for her. We had problems with the 504. Waited 7 months for it to be finalized, which was completely unacceptable. And the principal was not very cooperative. And then when I had to call in, you know, our social worker and the doctor, and then it was finally like, well, we're doing what we said we're doing. I'm like, that's not okay because you're in violation. He didn't really care for me all that much, but I don't really care. But I think that's part of where we have to be advocates for our kids and for ourselves, and to teach them to be advocates as well. So through some educational issues, again, like I said, not CF related, is why we pulled her. She's been doing great at home. You know, just like what you said, there's things that she didn't learn, and now she's like, well, that makes complete sense. It's like you don't realize that when you miss some time, you skip over maybe some of those certain pieces that are key to understanding the rest of the things. And she's just doing really great right now. And every year she's like, I might want to go back to school next year. I'm like, okay, well, we'll talk about it. She's like, nah, I'm gonna stay home again. I'm like, okay, great. She's been in the hospital. This winter was the first winter that we hadn't had one of them in, which was crazy. And like, I'm like, what are we gonna do this winter? Like, we don't have a month in the hospital. But it was good. So as she was in 1st grade, Zachary was born, and he was born in October. So of course, you know, we're thinking, you know, here we are, a fall baby with all this gross stuff coming on that accompanies fall. And I didn't feel like he had CF, but we knew, you know, the chances. And he went in. He was born in Flint. We said, if he distends, we're sending him to Children's. No problem whatsoever. It was all set up. It was the easiest transfer ever. So, you know, here he is. He distends after about 24 hours. They had transport set up, you know, Panda 1, is it? Is it Panda 1? Panda 1 came up, put him in his little incubator, I guess it is, and off they went. I was released and followed behind them shortly. And he spent 3 weeks in NICU down there, had surgery after about a week, and his was completely different because I thought, well, we can make it through Caitlin's, we can make it through anything. So it was going to be a piece of cake, and he was just so different. Like, easier surgery, easier kid. Nothing was the same. Nothing is the same about them at all. And it was, I'm just, what do we do about this? You know? So we have good family, good support. My husband is on board and helping with anything that needs to be done. Zachary loves dirt, loves everything that is, you know, when you think about a 3-year-old boy, that's him. I counted up his little action figures the other day of superheroes and villains, and he has 108. Then I start thinking, how much money have I spent on these guys? But they go with him everywhere. so he's going to be a superhero. And he loves his sister, so he pulled out her pom-poms the other day and was just cheering with her. And I'm like, you have to go today. You have to go and you have to cheer Katie on for me. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want to go. And I'm like, yeah, you love football. And he's like, yeah, I do. But he does really well. We struggle with vest. Nebulizer's good, but vest is an issue all the time. But I tell Caitlin that it's because has an attitude about her treatments too. So she doesn't complain about the nebulizer, but she's got issues with her vest. But you know, we're thinking the same thing with him. If he wants to go to public school, we'll try that, see how it goes. If he needs to come home or whatever, then we'll just do whatever we need to do. So I've been on the family advisory board for cystic fibrosis at Children's since its inception, which I don't even know how long ago that has been, maybe like 7 years. And then about 2 years ago or a year ago was asked to be on the Family Advisory Council for Children's Hospital, which is interesting to go and hear through all of the different specialties and meeting different parents to hear that our challenges are not all that different. I mean, our diagnoses are different, but there's still the same feelings that we have and the same struggles, and our kids wanting to feel like they are, part of a bigger picture.